the Hyatt Regency was packed. It was packed with folks, like-minded folks, who are looking for smaller government, limited government, better border control, better trade deals, you name it. Immigration was a huge issue as well. Immigration, a huge issue. And when they had the straw poll that they run throughout the conference revealed on Sunday afternoon, John McLaughlin, who was, of course, President Trump's holster and also does work for the Washington Times, when they did the big reveal, the issues were not surprising as being the top issues. They were huge. Election integrity, immigration, border enforcement, trade deals, national security, all the things that you knew and loved watching the Trump administration over the 4 years that they were there in Washington, D.C. And the sense that I got in that room, the excitement, the energy, the hunger for a return to some sane policies, not the stuff we've seen for the last, 6 weeks, but the sane policies that meant prosperity and strength and security at the border and around the world are certainly being begged for. So in immigration news, President Trump mentioned many of those issues with the border policy in his CPAC speech. Talking about the migrant crisis, talking about young people, immigration and customs enforcement, and of course, President Biden reversing Trump's policies and the consequences of doing that. Here's just one really great clip from President Trump speaking at CPAC just last night about immigration and the border.
Joe Biden has triggered a massive flood of illegal immigration into our country, the likes of which we have never seen before. They're coming up by the tens of thousands. They're all coming to take advantage of the things that he said that's luring everybody to come to America. And we're one country. We can't afford the problems of the world as much as we'd love to. We'd love to help, but we can't do that. So they're all coming because of promises and foolish words. Perhaps worst of all, Joe Biden's decision to cancel border security has single-handedly launched a youth migrant crisis that is enriching child smugglers, vicious criminal cartels, and some of the most evil people on the planet.
What people do not realize is that because of the COVID crisis, you had a greater enforcement at the border taking place than you would under ideal circumstances even, because you didn't want to bring the COVID into the country through land channels like that. But what you also had were the cartels, the transnational gangs, the human traffickers, all having to come up with new creative ways to get across the border to what they call the frontier down there in the southwestern part of the United States. They had to get more creative, they had to get more vicious, they had to get more dangerous. And now, with essentially the "Hey, we're open" sign now being put out by the Biden-Harris administration, well, guess what's happened? People are running toward the border. They're making the run, despite the protestations of people like Jen Psaki on the Sunday show saying, well, we're not telling anybody to come up here. It's implied. It's understood that the border enforcement's not going to be the same as it was for the prior 4 years. Well, President Trump spoke eloquently about the need for border security, to have a policy that allows people to immigrate legally into the country, but not to come crashing through the frontiers of our border, but to present themselves at appropriate border checkpoints, having been vetted, having been background checked, having been verified, and then being allowed to come in to the United States. A healthy border is not a hard thing to create. It just requires enforcement. It just requires enforcement. Well, what happens is progressives will say, well, the Republicans, the conservatives, they hate the immigrants. The immigrants are terrible. That's what they'll say. They'll say they don't want the immigrants. Nonsense. Nonsense. President Trump and Rush Limbaugh, prominent conservatives out there, understand the importance to be a welcoming nation, but to do it in an orderly manner. In fact, in 2014, Rush told us exactly where he stood. Conservatives don't hate immigrants.
It dawned on me yet again that people do not understand principled opposition to amnesty. It has nothing to do, there's nothing personal about it. It has nothing to do with these particular 15 or 20 million people. It has nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with borders. It has everything to do with preserving the country as we know it, with a distinct and proud of it, damn it, American culture, which is why every immigrant in the past has wanted to border secured with active limits on the amount of immigration so that the flow is two things: economically acceptable and productive, and that something that used to happen automatically begins to happen, and that's assimilation. Every time I tell people that there was no immigration in this country for over 40 years, from the 1920s to the 1960s, 70s, they're shocked. You'd be amazed at the number of people who do not know we totally closed the borders. After the wave of European immigration in the 1920s, and we did it for one reason: that mass arrival of immigrants needed to be assimilated. Now, they wanted to be. They wanted to become Americans. So they had to learn English. They learned American custom. They became acquainted with American holidays. They studied for citizenship. All of this they wanted. And it took that many years to assimilate. All the opposition to amnesty is not personal to these 15 million people. It is a rule of law. If we lose the rule of law, that's all we've got. We are seeing how really precariously structured this country really is. We've got a document, the Constitution, that is the law of the land. And we've now got a president who, when he doesn't like it, pretends it doesn't exist. There is no mechanism other than censure or impeachment to deal with that. And the Republicans have taken both off the table. So there's no signal that he must stop. If this continues, the United States is not going to be what was founded. The Constitution spells out, and somebody asked me on the phone recently, is it the honor system, Rush? Is that how it's working for 200+ years, the honor system? What the caller meant was it just high elected officials, presidents, that were just duty-bound to obey the Constitution? Well, hardly. But it was respect for it, but it was also respect for the law. The honor system, there was a reverence for it. Now, there's always been opposition to it. Always since the days that was written there when people opposed to it. I don't mean to present a Pollyannish picture here, but it is precariously balanced. If any given president or succession of presidents just decides to pretend it doesn't exist, and if the other two branches of government aren't going to do anything about it, then it won't exist. And this country, it'll always be an America, but it won't be what was founded. Who knows what it'll be, but it won't be. That's what people are worried about. We're not worried about being overrun. We're not, nothing personal here. It's a desire to hold on to America and to make it a beacon, keep it a beacon. Stand for something. Losing our economic stature and status to the Chicons now. There's a reason for this. And when you realize that amnesty and open borders is a weapon used by the anti-American left, that's reason enough to oppose it. When you realize who wants open borders, when you realize the political and ideological motivation behind it, you are duty-bound. Some of the honor system, you're duty-bound. I would think to stand up and oppose it. It isn't personal. It has nothing to do with ethnicity or race whatsoever. And by the way, don't go crazy crediting all these amnesty people with love of humanity. They don't want these people to ever be self-reliant. They want these people to be voting as dependent incompetence. The political powers that be, they're trying to make this happen, see a wave of potential registered voters who are unskilled and uneducated and will never be self-reliant. Therefore, they are always going to need support from government. They are seeking dutiful, respectful, appreciative dependence. The open borders crowd has no love for these people.
State Street. And Brandywine Avenue. If you see your neighborhood, let me know. If you notice your house, that's a good thing. Approaching Brandywine and Becca. That's the Islamic Center over there, on the opposite side. If you notice your neighborhood, leave your comment, let me know. If it has changed a bit or whatever. Notice your house around the neighborhood, let me know. Leave your comments. Bringing to you a little view of what Schenectady look like. The roads are all kind of rough, so got a shaky camera. Not too bad though. Seems like Schenectady's getting pretty busy these days. Actually, about 25 years ago, there was hardly ever cars here and people. It's developed a pretty good much now. Overall, yes. Comparing to what it was like 25 years ago. Or even 20 years ago. They got buses, the 905 just passed by. That's the one that runs from Schenectady to Albany in a fairly express way. Makes all stops, all the express stops only, you know. Not too bad. And of course you gotta obey the traffic lights. Gotta obey all the traffic lights, you know. There's some you can make right and red, some you can't. Bringing to you the streets of Schenectady, New York, upstate New York, that is. Opposite here, a guy in his own Tropics restaurant and bar. People have occasions there. They go to a little discotheque there. They have discotheque. They have a restaurant and a bar there. Families get together, party up a little bit. Owned by Guyanese, because you know Guyanese moving in Schenectady a great lot now. Some moved on, went away to this far south, Florida, Guyana, back to Guyana and all of that. Some like the cold. As you can still see snow on the ground. Snow is on the ground there. Notice your neighborhood. Let me know, leave your comments. This is Duane Avenue in Schenectady. It's developed a great lot. All houses here. Take it down the street, Duane Avenue. We're approaching Creek Street and Duane Avenue. That's some pretty big house. Some pretty big houses though, I could tell you that. Schenectady. Got garbage bin all over the place. That's because of this very heavy wind, you know. The wind blew all the garbage out, all the garbage down. Yep. Notice your neighborhood, let me know. Thanks for watching.